Wake up, buyer payer people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhoads on the Buy Here Pay Here Morning Show. Take it away, you two.
Good morning.
Good
hey,
morning,
everybody.
friends. Welcome.
Happy Friday. I'm like, I woke when we started looking at this morning, it's like, why does the camera seem so yellow? I feel like I look all jaundiced today.
Oh boy.
So yeah, we might have to, we'll figure something out. But Friday.
I think you mentioned that part.
Friday.
You're just not really ready this morning, are you?
Well, no, I am. It's Friday, and it just like we've got one kid coming over for dinner tonight, and another with their partner, and another kid coming over tomorrow night with their partner and kids, and I'm really excited. It's going to be a great Friday, and today to let you a little bit behind the curtain of Jim and Michelle.
Oh boy, here we go.
Sorry. Well, we all know that we do like coffee time. It's a ritual. We family party. We're talking about what rituals or what things do you do to make sure that you stay connected and all of that. And so coffee time is one of the things that we do. And so it's like usually the first hour plus of the day is we are enjoying coffee and enjoying conversation. And we try. I would say it's 80% of the time there is no devices. So no phones, no laptops or whatever. And so, it's just kind of that connection time. Well, we when we get ready in the morning, we love to turn up music. And so it's just blasting it. And I'm Jim's shaving and I'm just enjoying the music. I said, we should dance more. And he's like,
I'm trying to concentrate on my morning show.
I know. And I'm just dancing and having fun. And I was like, how many of you out there, once you get married, and we actually didn't when we dated, but when you're younger, you go dancing. You just enjoy dancing. And then when you get older, it's like, meh. And I thought, you know what?
You're speaking for you.
Okay, then I'm speaking for me.
Yeah.
If y'all have different experiences with dancing as a couple or individually. Good morning, Adrian. Let us know. But so I was like, I choose to create more opportunity to dance.
Yeah, nice, good.
The end. Thank you. Behind the curtain.
Well, good. That's good for me. That'll be fun.
Yeah. What do we got coming up?
We got V8 meeting on Tuesday night. We've got our dealer roundup coming up on the 18th. We've got Neo User Summit on the 23rd.
We will be
Las
there.
Vegas.
Please
By the way,
stop and
quickly,
say hi.
We now have seats available in V8 for all levels of accounts. So regardless of your business size, we have a spot for you now. We've added enough groups and we're probably going to add another group in May. But just know that regardless of your size of business, if you want to get involved, it's affordable and it's a good way to get started. Comparing numbers.
Yeah. $129 a month to, be able to look at your numbers with somebody else. And
I see some of you
the
guys
rich
recon
conversation.
expenses. Yeah. 129 is
it's like, that's dinner. Okay.
Yeah.
Dinner with a couple of drinks, nice bottle of wine.
Yeah.
That's kind of, and so we're going to segue into the topic, which is money and that kind of stuff. And we do live in a different paradigm, but is there anything else that we need to talk about before
I don't think so.
So last night we went to bed and Jim's like, you get to choose the topic. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to bed.
Yeah, if we wait too late, we get tired. We don't have the brain power for it. And
so he wakes up well before I do. And I know that he's just going to go I have the topic. And very rarely.
Inspiration. We have a long list of topics.
We do. And
it's
I
a matter
keep
of choosing the one.
Well, y'all have seen me frantically writing down things because then it goes on this list that sits on our counter and it's kind of like, here's a list of topics for things we've been thinking about. Yeah. And a lot of times that there's ones in there that it's got an asterisk next to it because we need to have, it just would be a much richer conversation with a panel.
With a guest, yeah.
Or a guest. So this was one when I was like, that wasn't on the list.
Right.
This is going to be, so we talked about it during coffee time this morning. Jim
Yeah.
threw some stuff up on the TV and something he's going to share. And I was like, dang, I married a really smart man.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
This came about because I was having a conversation with a client. We've been working with some clients who are newer to the business, and some of the stuff that comes up. You have the hair.
It's really awful to see yourself on camera and go, "Oh, there's a hair out of." Okay, I know. I don't look.
So the conversation recently was around payments and income and underwriting overall, and I was reminded of something, and this is definitely the start of a conversation again that we want to bring panelists and others to this conversation going forward, because what prompted the thing for me is like thinking about how to help a dealer look at fixed income as an example. One of the things that always used to come up, I was sharing with you in my own business, was when you had fixed income folks, the challenge became, maybe you'd show that they had enough income to support the payment. The problem became that they didn't have enough spare change to handle any repairs. And of course, regardless of how we're going to handle repairs today, we can talk about service contracts and warranty and as is with side notes, all the stuff. Like the reality is that's either coming out of my pocket as a dealer or it's coming out of the customer's pocket or some combination. And when you've got a situation where the customer cannot afford those repairs, there's just not room in the budget for repairs. Yeah. That's what really prompted me to kind of do this math that we're going to show you today.
Well, and that's like, it seems to me that's two questions, and both of them should be talked about at purchasing, but one of them frequently isn't, the way that real life kind of questions. And we talk about, making sure that we're within a certain payment to income ratio and all of that. And then, do we have the conversation with our customers that say their cars, they will break down. So, what do you, do you have the ability to pay for repairs? And if you're working on some PTI where it's like, it's a sliver, then you that's the reason why we repo frequently too, is because they can't make the payment. The car has broken down.
It's certainly among the reasons.
Yeah.
So I think you want to go ahead and show the slide. We can get started talking about the, and for our folks who will be listening on audio, this is one of those broadcasts where, we'll do the best we can to explain what's on the screen. But this is something I created this morning as a way to be able to illustrate graphically what it is that, we're really talking about. And so we began to break down income of folks and look at basic living expenses.
Basic living expenses. And we all know how much more expensive it is to live today. And this is just living expenses. This is not outside whatever expenses. Food is a lot more expensive. And so this is part of the conversation we had this morning where it was like, what is the average amount that people spend a month on food? And, everything that I was looking at, it ranked, low. So it's like you're eating at home most of the time, medium and high. And we chose this is actually lower than the low number.
Yeah, so we actually did a little research on this to figure out what is across the country, what is the typical expenditure, and for today we can use whatever numbers that our listeners want to hear, because you can shoot in the comments in there what numbers you'd like to see, because all the numbers that you see on the screen in yellow are numbers that we can change. We can modify those numbers and have the results flow through to the chart. So we just wanted to be able to kind of illustrate. And I think for me, the real foundational piece of this is I've always said, and I still feel this way, like I think our customers are going to prioritize a few things over their car payment. And that to me is, and when they have a family, when they have children, I think this becomes even more true. But you're going to have a roof over your head. So you're going to prioritize a roof over your head, and you're going to prioritize
food,
feeding your family, feeding yourself, feeding your family. I mean, those are just necessities.
I don't know about you, but $800, as I had one of my sons, had been living with his brother who owned his own home, and so he was like, I want to go and do this on my own. $800 is
He's not going to get much.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
For a single person
and
to live in.
Obviously this varies
not at
by
all.
region, by, community, whatever. It's like rents are going to vary.
Yeah.
But for today, it's just kind of keeping it kind of general about our typical customer. And threw a poll out this morning, and it's kind of just as an afterthought, but it'll kind of continue to feed the conversation here about. And we barely got a few poll respondents so far this morning, but the majority of the respondents said so far that the income for their typical customer was in the $15 to $18 an hour range. Okay.
So we're going on the high end of that and the low end of other things. The low end of groceries, the low end of rent.
Yep.
And so, one of the things when I said I married a smart man, look at if we have 2 people in the household. Do you want to add the food?
Sure. I kind of explain the whole thing first. So let me go through sort of line by line. So what we have listed for expenses or base expenditures, as I called it, was rent or mortgage. That's the roof over your head. Food and groceries, which we did a calculation there so that we could change the number of people in the household. And then we did gas and fuel because, if they're buying a car from you, we assume they're using it to go back and forth to work. So, right. And then everybody's going to have a cell phone. I'm sorry.
That's a burner.
I'm not sure, but what it could be. I mean, I don't know what people are for a cell phone, but I'm just saying, I think people are going to have a cell phone before they have a car. It's just my belief that people are going to prioritize.
Who does a landline anymore?
You can't even catch a bus without a mobile app or whatever. You're going to have a phone. So it's like, it's like, that's all part of the thing. I say you can't. Most people who catch a bus now are.
So and then utilities.
Yeah.
And that's like your internet, cable, your gas and your electricity, and that's low.
Yeah. So I wonder though if we can. So again, for today, this is all set up in a way we can show the numbers and change the numbers on the fly, and it's just a way for us to be able to. Tweak these numbers according to whatever your typical applicant looks like. And so, again, send in the comments if you have the numbers that you want to see.
There's a couple of things that as we were talking about this, the withholding might be a little bit different based on, so we're talking about 20% of their hourly rate at 18. And there's a couple things that are not in here. It's like clothes.
Yeah.
Per person, birthdays, Christmas, those kind of things that people,
here's an unfortunate reality.
Yeah.
Some people can't afford
exactly.
birthday gifts.
Exactly.
Birthday parties.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
So those are optional things. And I think what this is going to show is if I'm a customer financing a car from you at these income levels and these expense levels, let's just face some harsh realities today. Let's just look at what is available to make a car payment. And then we're seeing, obviously in COVID period, car payments went up, car prices went up, and in the interest of trying to keep the term from getting too long, dealers moved payments up, which is understandable. It's just that incomes didn't go up. Yeah, they temporarily went up through the COVID period for, with some government help. But the reality is now we're back to our own income.
Yeah.
And so let's just do the math. Let me take you through the income side over here on the right side. Just a real simple analysis. If we said this customer's working 40 hours a week, then you got a gross pay of $720. That comes out to just a little over $3,000 monthly gross. And then we just use 20% for withholding.
They might get it all back at their tax return
that doesn't
time.
Help make a car payment tomorrow.
It doesn't make a car payment tomorrow. Yeah.
So it's like, that's cool to think about, but it's like, that doesn't help me today. So it's like, when I look at back to the expenditures over here. So now at the 800 rent or mortgage, and let's keep it simple. Like you may say, Jim, but what about a second applicant? Jim, what about, overtime or whatever? Let's keep it simple. Let's go to the base level per person. And let's look at, the renter mortgage. We've got that in there. We've got utilities at $150. So that adds up to $1,400. And at the numbers that we have over there at $18 an hour, that base expenditure comes out to 56% of their total pay. So now we're to $2,500 net pay. This is calculating from those numbers on the right, bringing it over. And now we have to allow for car insurance. So whether we're doing full coverage or whether we're doing, CPI plus liability, we got to buy some insurance, right? And so this is why, and we use $150 because most of the clients that we're working with are being urged to charge $100 to $115 an hour, or $115 a month for CPI. You have to believe liability is another 35 to 50 monthly, right? And so now, you're in that 150, which is what we pay roughly, I think, for car insurance. So it's like, it's a pretty workable number. And what this tells us now is at those numbers, that the base and you can look in the pie chart over there, that bright green section is the number that is what we have available for a car payment, which in this case looks pretty favorable after insurance. We're at $944 at that $18. Now the question becomes, what if that rent's a little higher?
Let's say it's $1,000, okay, and that you have 2 people in your household.
Okay. On the one income.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Now you've just dropped it down to 414. Now, and this is another thing that was interesting, that because I was going through a lot of different websites, and it talked about those base expenditures should not be more than, what was it? I want to say it was 50%.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't want to say,
but so right now, that's 76% of their income is going just for living expenses, just without a car. It's just living expenses. And, you've got 2 people. So, I mean, when you're talking 2 people, and I looked at prices, what people spend for groceries, you have that it broke it down to children, to grown adults, and how much you spend. And 300 was about a median, because for adults, it's more than 300 is the low end.
I've been using 200. Like this is kind of borrowed from a section of an underwriting tool that I created in spreadsheet form for some of our clients some time ago. And it does the same thing here. It kind of gives pie charts. So visually you can see how much is available for the customers.
And payment. Your $200 a person is grocery prices. We all know how much they've gone up. So it's about $100 more.
Well, and everybody's spending will be a little bit different, but it's like, it's like if we're just using some ballpark, then I think one of the articles Michelle found was that the most recent average came out to about $84 per person in terms of food and groceries. So, if you, even if that's meals out plus groceries, $84 a week comes out to $335 or something. I forget what the number was.
And we were like, we have a budget for like our bills, and then we have, what's left over and food and stuff like that all come out of that. And so, when we were talking about this, I said, we went out to dinner last night, and we went to Italian. Italian's usually not very expensive. I think that we spent about $17 per plate, and shared a dessert, and we brought most of the food home, and then got a bottle of wine. Not expensive bottle of wine. It was like $27. And our bill was before tip was like $60. And so I was like, $60. That if once a month, that almost takes away one person's food budget for the week.
Well, yeah. I think our customers aren't going out and having bottles of wine. And,
True.
That's the reality.
But I mean, so I took my mom to get her haircut yesterday, or the day before yesterday. And the gal that was cutting her hair, known her for decades. And she said, my husband and I, we went out to the new place that's a burger place, drive through, all of that. We ordered a couple of burgers, some ice cream, $36. And I was like, yeah. I mean, you can go to most of your fast food restaurants, and it's like for 2 people, it's pretty easy to spend $30.
Listen, when you're talking Jim, you're talking somebody who spends $36 a day on ice cream alone. So,
and maple donuts.
This explains why I don't get to buy that extra laptop.
So, okay. So, we're breaking all this stuff down. So what does this mean to dealers?
Well, I think the first thing it means to dealers is we got to really be watchful at that $18 rate. Now, we know a number of applicants are going to come in at $15 an hour, and we still have 2 people in the household over there. If you've got a kid at home, and look at what this did to the numbers. Look at that green sliver down there. That's what's available for a car payment. If you're at $15 an hour, and we know this, people have to have the conversation with customers. It's just, we look forward to kind of having this tool available to both dealers and consumers, so that people can do this math themselves and see kind of where it leaves them. Because as we know, I just talked to a dealer this week who lost a deal to insurance. The customer couldn't afford the insurance, and that happens all over the country because insurance is a chunk, especially for our young people. And so it's just definitely something. But look at how that number jumped up to 91% of the, now at $15 an hour, 91% of these just base living expenses. There's so many things we've left out of there. Michelle mentioned to me this morning, childcare and stuff like that. It's like, you haven't even begun to do those things.
So even if you like had a second job, that might over the 40 hours a week, if you're starting at 15 as your main job, and that's like fast food, all that, and you have a second one, that's going to jump you up about $8 to $18 an hour because you're working part-time at the other. And so it's just, the other thing is survivors. Tommy Brandis is like, I have never met people that can take $1 and stretch it as far as, so like mad respect.
Oh, sure. And obviously, necessity is the mother of invention. Is that the expression? So, they get resourceful and coupons and whatever else they can do to kind of make this all work. But I just think, the other thing it shows is even if at the $1,000 a month rent, and these other base numbers, let me back this up to one person in the household. Let's just look at one person paying $1,000 rent. So now I'm at $744 after base expenses and after paying my car insurance for a car payment, which our numbers, I didn't get a chance to go back and refer to them, but I want to say our average car payment in the V8 groups is around $600. Okay. So we don't know, when that term is set up, I don't know whether there's a service contract in that number or not, but bottom line is customers are being expected to pay about $600. So now if you look at that number even at $18 an hour, my question becomes back to my original thought about, when you got a fixed income person or a lower income person, can they handle repairs? Now, this is why, what used to happen with fixed income, it didn't take long to realize as a dealer, chief underwriter, if you will, that what would happen is the customer could afford the payment, but anytime there were repairs at all, which are going to happen, so if you go back to an as is kind of scenario with side notes, then the customer could not afford to do the repairs. So all they could really do is as a dealer, I could put the payments all the way at the end, which I really refuse to do. And I would expect the customer to pay something. I don't know, $5 a week, pay something toward the repair so that it doesn't all go at the end. And that obviously hurts the customer on interest and causes me to take all of the risk. And that's just something that I think we shouldn't do as dealers. But the customer should share in the risk and the responsibility here. And so, how that split that will vary from deal to deal and circumstance to circumstance. But I just think we what this kind of illustrates is that this customer at a $600 car payment does not have much left. And so if there's a $700 repair that comes up, what's going to happen? So again, this $600 payment could have a warranty, it could have a service contract. There's going to be different ways to think about that. But I think my main objective in bringing this conversation forward was recognizing, this customer is going to need to afford these repairs one way or the other. Right.
So two things. One, Facebook user asked, can you share this with us?
We expect
to. Yeah.
In a web tool. I mean, certainly you can reach out to me, provide your email, and I can get it to you in a spreadsheet version. What we expect to do is make it available in a web tool.
And so, because as I was looking at this and I just like that graph to be able to illustrate in a visual form. It's a really easy way to communicate. Most everybody can understand visual things. That it's like learning. Most everyone can learn visually. And then, I was like, this would be a really great tool for a dealer to be able to kind of like, let's just really look at the things and when you get down to having the conversation, it's like they are machines. They will break down. And, and so how, to me, the question that comes from this is, do we support and how we support? Because there are plenty of dealers we see all through social media that it's like, we don't support. It's their problem. And so, it's like, well, the numbers what is it from? May the fates be with you. Well, the fates are against you. if you are sending your customer on their merry way with zero way of supporting them, the fates are against them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could argue
and against you.
Well, some dealers, I'll just tell you, I don't recall that you and I've talked very much about this, but the reality is there are going to be some dealers out there in this segment. It's part of why the CFPB is so watchful of our industry. Is there are dealers out there who almost hope for the repair. They look forward to the repair because they've done some math and they've determined that it's actually somehow financially to their advantage to recover the repo and resell it. And so they're almost, well, they don't have a lot of vested interest in the customer success. Most of the dealers we work with do. So it's important to kind of make that distinction. Most of the dealers that we work with do see that. They are playing a long game. They do recognize the importance of helping that customer be successful. And I think what we just tried to break down here was that, of course, we got to collect more data and see where the income really is, for most of our applicants. But I think you can see in this range that, most of the respondents that said so far, they're in the $15 to $18 an hour range. Well, you can see
even at the high end, this is what
if I change nothing else, one person in the household, regardless if they're working wherever they're working,
boom,
you got almost nothing left for a car payment, and you certainly got nothing left for repairs. So that's the kind of where the math starts to, where the rubber meets the road, as they say. If you can push that up to $25 an hour. Now you've got ample income.
Look at how much that changes everything. If you're making 25, maybe even if you're making 25, so you decide to go with rent that's $1,200. And it's like you can have a better, whatever, and look at how much better that becomes. $20.
Yeah, let's try 20. And
20 is still,
20 is pretty workable. You got customers got $1,000 of available income after the insurance allowance. So, I think that's that's kind of where we're seeing that it's often important for us to coach the customer through this, and I think this tool can help us. There's nothing here that the customer couldn't see. Like we can sit at the desk, and certainly I expect dealers will be able to use this in training their people, and then a salesperson would be able to use this with a customer, and show it on the screen and help them to think through their own math and think through the insurance piece and think through the repairs piece and the payment with and without a service contract. So look at what's going to happen if you don't have a service contract and you face some repairs. Then I think this is something that we're just mindful of this, and we it's all about setting the customer up to be successful, which in turn makes us successul. So this is where we have to just kind of start to do some hard math and figure out who we can help.
Yeah, and it's just I know there's a lot of dealers out there that know this, that understand this. There are some that don't. And, we talk to ones all the time, don't understand this. And so they're just like, what are you guys paying? What's your average payment? And they're not really looking deeply into having the conversation with the customer. This is because this is like budgeting 101. And the surveys that we've done with consumers, with our customers, is they don't understand budgeting 101, and they were never taught budgeting 101. And so this is a really great, what I love about it is it's especially Jim, smart man, a really great visual way of looking at it. So thank you for the great spreadsheet.
So one quick thing, let's just show some quick math on the screen. If your average payment is $600 and you're looking at a PTI of 20%, which most everybody says as a take home, as a percentage of net, that's pretty much what I hear everybody say they're targeting.
21.
So that means that if you multiply that times 5, then your customer would have to be at $3,000 of take-home pay in order to hit the average payment that we're talking about. And so that means our customer needs to make $22 an hour. If it's 20% withholding, they need to make $22 an hour to net $3,000 a month. So, it just makes it pretty tight for us to finance a customer under $22 an hour. And this is part of why you hear people talk about this living wage and what does it really cost?
Survival. And so when something breaks down, it's like, well, I can't afford this, but I can still afford a payment of $400 or $500, whatever, $100. So I'm just going to go get another car and let them repo that.
And so these are the economics that dealers are wrestling with out there all the time. And sometimes that, they're eager to do business and they're stretching with that customer who's $18 an hour. And we can just see from the math that, that's a tough recipe. It doesn't mean it can't work. It just, we got to be prepared for, because, I feel the same way. Like you said earlier, like when the car breaks down, like not if the car breaks down, when the car breaks down, how's that going to happen?
Well, it's the same thing as when you get sick. And you're going to have to go to the doctor and get some antibiotics because that's going to happen in the 3 years, whatever, or one of your kids gets sick and you've got to, whatever. And
you don't see health insurance.
You don't see health insurance on this. And the interesting thing is that the way that like Medicaid, their max amount that you can earn to qualify for Medicaid is like $1,200 or $1,500 a month. Okay.
So above that, you're not eligible.
So you're not eligible. And so you're hoping you're getting insurance by your employment. A lot of people are not. And so that's where, that's another reason why emergency rooms, a lot of people end up there and then they end up having to write off the expense of the emergency room or it's like, how do I get medicine? Because that's where their money's going, not for the emergency room visit, but for medicine. And so, what does medicine cost? And so again, that's not even accounted for because people get sick just like cars get sick.
Yeah. And if you're withholding some, if the employer's charging you something for some insurance or whatever, then that would maybe adjust the withholding over there. But
I would have to say for me, I'm going to take this off the screen. Hats off to our customers for surviving the way that they do. They are survivors. And it's for me looking at this, it's like, I understand why so many people default on their loans. If that's the kind of, financial world they live in. And so if we know that, how are we as dealers and, those that support dealers, how are we supporting the customer? Because it's gonna happen.
So I would say hats off to those dealers who are thinking long term, even at their underwriting desk, thinking long term and thinking about the customer success, and also who are employing an approach on the collection side that is a bend without breaking, because we got to be able to bend a little bit in order to help this customer be successful, because it's tight.
I also consider, I think this tool is a great way for you to look at what you're paying your people.
Yeah. It's a good thing to think about. Yep. It's also, it gives you an idea what it costs to live and what's left over.
And so how do you want your people to live? Do you want them to have a second job in order to support a family? Sure. Do you, Yeah.
It's just math, folks.
It's just math.
Yeah.
And you can't argue numbers. And so, there may be some little bits here and there that shift, but this is a really great way of looking at, you're a lot of times our employees are our customers. And so what are we setting them up for?
Right.
As well.
Yep.
Success or not success.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
All righty.
We can wrap up there. I think we covered it. And look for us to bring this conversation back with some panelists, because we want to hear from others on this subject.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. You guys, we really appreciate how everyone, includes us in their morning. And we're grateful for that. We really, really are. Those of you who are listening via one of the syndicated podcast stations, obviously there's not visuals.
Yeah.
So please.
Just so folks know, those usually aren't available till about 24 hours after the broadcast on the audio chart.
Yes. So if you are listening on the audio and you want to take a look at the charts, please go to our YouTube channel.
There you go.
And subscribe while you're there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hey guys, it's Friday. I hope you all have a great day today, and thanks again so much for joining us.
Thanks. Have a good weekend.